Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode. Oh my goodness. I know we were on schedule in terms of uploading, but it's been a hot second since Jessie and I have been catching up and all of that because it's been my spring break and I've been kind of all over the map. But we are super excited to really talk about friends today and what that means for us. And so before anything, I want to introduce our podcast. We are a podcast that covers a variety of topics from faith, enneagram, being a third culture kid, navigating adulting, and a lot of brain dumps. And so before we get into the meat of this episode, hi, my name is Yehna.
Hi, my name is Jessie, and welcome to our 20th episode of
At
At the
the
Table.
table.
Number 20. I just can't believe that since October or November,
November.
we've been consistently recording.
Love
And this
it.
is our 20th episode. So here we go. Like Yana said, we're talking about friendships. So we're going to share or discuss over like quality over quantity, how our Enneagram affects how we view our friendships. What does the label best friend mean to us?
Mm.
So let's dive into it, especially because we are TCKs, they're culture kids. A lot of the times, it's affected how we view our friendships. And so
Right.
quality over quantity is something that we always think about. And well, I think about and Yana
Same,
thinks
same.
about. And we're like, okay, is quality better or quantity better? And some people can have both. Some people only need a
Mm.
few friends and they're totally fine. Some people need lots of friends. And maybe a couple of them are more deeper than other friendships.
Hmm.
And, either one is okay. I think it's more
Yeah,
about being on the same page with each friend and what you're both willing to put into the
into the
friendship.
friendship.
But Yana, what is it like for you? Is it quality over quantity, quantity over quality? What is it like for you?
Yeah, for me, for sure, it's definitely quality over quantity. I think it's just that's also how I navigate just relationships in general. It's hard to juggle so many things all at once. And that's not to say I'm like never going to meet new friends. That's not at all what I'm trying to
Right.
say. It's just like that's been what's worked the best for me. And of course, I mean, we'll get more into it as we go on with this episode, but it's still a work in progress, even navigating the one or two, three, four friends I do have. But for sure, I like to keep my circles tight and small. So no escaping me. Just kidding.
We're locked in. Oh, shoot. I like how you said one or two, three or four. No, I just don't have one or two friends. I have three and four friends. Okay, so has that always been the case for you, even growing up, because of your environment you grew up in, or did it change over time? Because I'm sure at Wheaton you had to kind of think about that,
Right.
right? Once there was quality available for you.
So true. Yeah, that's hilarious. But I think obviously everyone's different, but at least in my circle, this sounds mean, but we really didn't have a choice of who we chose to be our friends or
Right.
people we hung out with. So, but I was just very fortunate to have friends that we got along and we loved each other and we grew with each other and we went through some real roller coasters together. So I honestly just was blessed with that type of friendship. And so, but for me, for so long, I think that's because the reason why is just like quantity is so important to me is because that's just how I operated from day one. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I went into college and being overwhelmed, I'm not going to expose myself a little, but freshman year, we had this like camp thing. And for the first time, we were like put into a huge circle. And I just remember bawling my eyes out of nowhere because I felt so overwhelmed. And that's just like a representation of how I do in large groups. I think that, but more than anything, I've been navigating the quality part of
Right.
relationships and friendships. So
Right.
I know that I like small circles, but now how do I navigate the individual relationships is what I'm working
Right.
through. Yeah.
And they're going at different paces, right?
So
So
true.
that's
Yeah.
also, it's not like a one size fits all. It's
No.
really catered to each friend and where they're at in their life, too,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Interesting. For me, because I moved around a lot, I always had like one best friend. And then I think that stopped once I entered middle school. but it was definitely in high school, like quantity over quality. I was always the floater and I would like hop around from each friend group.
Yeah.
And I never belonged in like one place necessarily, but I felt like I belonged in every circle that I was in. But especially in college, it really became quality over quantity because I needed that depth. I finally found that depth that I was looking
Mhm.
for in some of the friends that I met in college. And, as we're growing older, keeping in touch with high school friends, the depth started to form. So, really focusing on the quality piece makes me happy and makes me feel very fulfilled. So,
Yes.
it could be both and it
Mhm.
could be one or the other depending on what life stage you're in. So,
So true.
that makes sense. But kind of leaning into the Enneagram part and how that, I mean, you guys could probably kind of tell how we're sharing based on how we shared just now. But how does being a nine, Yana, influence your view of friendships and maybe
Mhm.
your fears?
Yeah, kind of tapping into the Enneagram. Jessie and I both love this other podcast called Typology, and it's run by
Yes.
Ian Cron. And he's amazing. You guys need to listen if you ever want to learn more about just like different people's lives. It's amazing. So, in one of the episodes, it was an Enneagram 9 talking about healthy boundaries and all of that. And I just remember her talking about how, as a 9, of course, this goes for all people, but as a 9, it's just especially difficult to let things go easily, whatever that is,
Mhm.
relationships, or maybe like a situation, or maybe an item, or just whatever that may be. And it because it's so hard to let go when it becomes our thing, before entering into it, we have such a hard time verbally or like expressively confirming our confidence in whatever that may be, whether that's information or in a relationship, because the moment we're in it, it's like we give our 100,000,000,000% in it. So we just need to know and be super confident that this is going to work out for me. I've never, even though that was just like a little snippet of that podcast episode, it related with it so much because that's just how I navigated each and one of my relationships since little. And especially now that I'm in my young adulthood, navigating that it's okay to run. I think for so long, for me, it had to be like all in or all out. Either
Right.
I'm gonna stick with them to like I'm gonna die for them. Just it was like really to that extreme. And then but the other extreme, like I don't want to be involved in anything they do. Like, why would I even begin something that I have no idea where it's gonna go? I did not know how to navigate the middle section of these relationships. Now, post grad, I've been really working through the gray section of relationships because that exists and that's a thing.
Right.
And it's honestly super healthy to acknowledge that and navigate that for yourselves and what that means for me. I've just been learning to hold on to things that I hold dearly, giving myself grace in the process of learning what that means. So even though
Mm.
maybe 2 days ago I told Jessie I love this and I'm gonna do this and blah 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 blah, but like maybe a week later I tell her that didn't work out and I don't think it's gonna work out, and being okay with making not a mistake but just like changing your mind. And
Mhm.
so I've
Mindset
so
shift. Yeah.
yeah, in relationships I think it's just been learning to move with the current and
Yeah.
allowing each season to hold its own meaning. Yeah.
It's interesting as you say that. I remember you, and especially in college, I'd be like, oh, like, how is this friend doing? And you're like,
Mm,
honestly, I don't know where this is going. I need to know if this person is going to be my friend or not. Like,
right.
you
So
hated
true.
that kind of like, ooh, I don't know. It's not clear of what our
Yeah.
status is. I
Mm,
remember you saying that a lot. And that totally, now that you're saying that, it makes sense
mm-hmm.
because you're like, okay, once I know that you're able to show up the way that I know I can show up, I will give you 100%.
Yeah.
But if not, you're not getting anything, boy. Like you
I
gotta wait.
know. So true. And
You gotta prove to me.
sorry, this is such a disclaimer, but I want to thank every person that's like allowed me to work through that messiness, because
Mm,
in hindsight, now I know those words probably could have hurt so many people because they're like, well, I'm really sure that I really like you and I love you and I want to be your friend. Why are you not sure? And so for me,
Right.
I could never show up 100% for anyone, even though I truly did
Mhm.
admire them and love them. It was just like I never allowed myself to show up. And so because I was so afraid that I was wrong or something, that's my
Mhm.
indirect way of saying thank you, Jessie, for sticking through all of that.
And we'll touch on it at the end or even
Yes,
in the next episode of like, yeah, we've gone through different seasons too. So
so true.
I guess for me being an Enneagram 2, I've really had to break down that unhealthiness of how I view friendships because of my own hurt and my own Enneagram 2 unhealthiness of I get so caught up in creating a friendship or a space for other people's needs to shine that I tend to become friends with people where I know what my role is. And
Mm,
that's usually the listener, or that's usually the one that's there for the other person.
hmm.
And it's not like, oh, let me become friends with you because I can help you, or let me become friends with you because I can save you. It's not, I don't go into that with that mindset, but I think subconsciously I am more attracted to friends where I know what I
Your
could
role is.
offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so true.
Which, yeah, I have to do more reflecting on that. But because of that, I'm not
Such as
able
life.
to, it is life, right? Still figuring it out. But because of that, I'm not able to come to terms with friendships not working out
Hmm.
or friendships where I'm not able to voice my needs eventually
So true.
because I started off not voicing my needs and always putting it on the other person. So something that I have noticed too is I might try to get those needs met through meeting other people's needs because I'm not able to straight up say, hey, these are my needs in a friendship. And
Right.
I've definitely gotten so much better at vocalizing that and standing up for myself and advocating for myself in a friendship. But there were many years where I felt like
Hmm.
I didn't deserve that. And that's so sad to say that out loud. But I feel like that's a lot of twos and their
Hmm.
cores and their core fears. Definitely gone through seasons and still learning to
Hmm.
have a reciprocal friendship and that I am allowed to take up space in a friendship. So that's stuff that we both are working through
Yes.
together. But let's move on to the last question
Yeah.
of best friends forever or friends for just a season. And this kind of moves into our next episode too. And
Yes.
this is what inspired us to talk about this. But Yena, can you unpack this for us a little bit of
Yeah.
why we brought this question up?
I can't speak for both of us, but it's something we've been processing and talking through. And like I said, I struggled so much with just the polar ends of relationship that when someone were to be like, oh my God, we're best friends, or even at such a young age, like I remember like very clearly around 10 or not 9 or 10, someone saying, oh my gosh, Yena is my best friend out loud to an adult. I remember internally freezing because I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means because in a couple months I'm leaving. I'm leaving
Right,
you.
right.
I don't know you like that. It just I was immediately I was like drowning in so much anxiety and fear. For me, I need to know I can perform at its like top level so that I will not disappoint them. So, for example, I don't
Right.
know what their standards are, but I'm going to cover every single basis that I can comprehend and know and imagine. And so then it just became a more than building a friendship for enjoyment and learning and like having a good time and just relaxing and being safe in that present in like space. For me it became a chore and something that I
Mm,
dreaded and feared, and I was frustrated with myself with because I was not perfectly doing it well. And that didn't make sense. I wasn't perfect in doing it. And so the easier option for me for so long was to distance myself.
mhm.
That label of best friend, even to this day, it definitely doesn't hold that as much weight as I did at like 9 or 10 because I'm not
Right.
stricken by fear, but I still am very careful with how I give that out. At a safe zone, I call people my close friends.
So I'm not your best friend. I'm just a
A
close
close
friend.
friend. No, stop.
I'm
Disappear. Episode ended.
kidding.
Sweating.
So I'm already sweating. But I think just hearing what you're saying again, because Yana and I are both 9, we're both wing one. So I'm a two wing
Yes.
one, Yena's a nine wing one. You can already tell that we both want to show up well.
Mm-hmm.
And that pressure, especially because we want to do everything well and not perfectly, but we want to do it well. So
Perfectly.
if we're perfectly, yeah, well, perfectionism, yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
we if we can't do it well, we feel the pressure. We kind of put that weight on ourselves. And the thing is, you might be listening to this and you might think, oh my gosh, these girls are over analyzing this stuff. They are thinking too hard about this because, I mean, we are over
Yeah.
analyzers and deep thinkers. Maybe you're just like, they're either your friend or they're not. But
Yeah.
for us, it's so much more than that. And you
Yeah.
can kind of tell we've been processing this a lot. What does it mean to be a good friend? How much do you show up in a friendship? How
So
much is
true.
too much? How much is not enough? So I definitely hear what you're saying, Anna, and I agree with you. Yeah.
So, how about you? What has that meant to you, that label?
Yeah. For
Doesn't want to
me,
share.
I was just like, I agree with you, Anna. Let's leave it at that and leave it at that.
LOL.
Well, because I, again, moved around a lot. If I called someone a best friend, I'm like, well, if I move, are you still going to be my best friend? Or like, what if you find a new best friend because I'm not
Right.
there anymore? Stopped that after elementary school because I didn't want to get my heart
Oh
broken.
my gosh. My heart broke before you even said that.
Oh, it's
No,
kind of
so
true
real. So
though.
real.
Yeah. So I would say, like, oh, this was my best friend from sixth grade, or like this was my best friend from
Mm.
middle school. So I stopped using that term because again, I felt the pressure of what that
Mm-hmm.
meant. But more than that, the fear of that friendship changing over time and being disappointed or like being hurt. So there's definitely that. So now I just call like five or six of my friends one of my best friends. I just say, oh,
Oh, my
she's one of my
same.
best friends, or oh, that person's one of my best friends. Because I don't want to label like, I don't want to have like a top dog, like a top
No,
number one
there
best
is no
friend.
such thing.
There
Okay,
isn't.
maybe some people.
Maybe
Sorry,
there
if there
is. I don't
is.
know. Why are
No,
we
I
like
love you
this?
all. Whoever's listening, I love you all. I love you all equally and differently and
Oh,
equally. Welcome to our intrusive
this is
thoughts and
gross.
overthinking. As
But
you can tell, we're still very much navigating this. We've done such a big chunk of this healing journey in 1 year. So,
yeah,
just kind of giving you a little bit of a timeline and how much we've actually thought through this and come to terms with it. It's been 1 year. So,
and
welcome to
therapy.
our terrible mindsets and journey. We're really
Still such a
thriving
mess.
here. Anyway, we just really wanted to process through what that meant for us and hopefully invite you guys to think about your friendships. Not for you guys to overthink it, don't do that. But just really seeing like how can I value myself and how can I show up for others and how can I set healthy boundaries so that we can have meaningful and deepening and wonderful fun relationships.
Mm, yeah, we did all the overthinking for you.
Yes.
But yeah, I would encourage you guys to think about like what are some friendships that I'm holding on to now and what friendships help me grow and what
Mhm.
friendships are just there for a season, what friendships are there just for me to have fun. Again, we talked about community in one of our community episodes. Some friends are for fun purposes, fun. Some friends are for friends that will listen to you at 2 a.m. and
Yeah.
be there for you. And both are okay.
Well, thank you so much for listening. And I really wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge our 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Yay!
Guys, shut up. You guys are too much. I can't. But no, thank you so much for really being with us through this very messy journey and fun experience and just taking the time to listen to our thoughts and what we have to offer and all of that. So, really, thank you. And please continue to love on us and support us and listen to us and all of our silly rants. We're all over YouTube and Spotify and obviously on Instagram. So, catch us there. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.